Hey everyone! Hope you're all in a good mood today because I've got a new story for you. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, it really means a lot to me. So I'm writing this because I need strangers to tell me if I'm losing my mind or if Stuart is actually doing what I think he's doing. Because I've been going in circles for 3 weeks and my best friend Carla told me to just post it already because she's tired of getting my 2 a.m. texts. For context, I'm 27, Stuart is 26, and we've been engaged for 7 months. We live together in this little rental duplex on the west side of Wichita. My dad helped us with first month's rent as an engagement gift, and I remember Stuart being weirdly awkward about accepting it, which in hindsight feels important, but I'll get there. We met at my cousin Nina's wedding 2 years ago. He was one of the groomsmen. He asked me to dance to some song I can't remember, and I thought he was the funniest person I'd ever met. That's the thing about Stuart that I need you to understand before I get into the ugly parts. He is charming. Not in a slimy way, in a way where old ladies at the grocery store give him their phone numbers for their granddaughters. My dad said he reminded him of himself at that age, which my mom thought was hilarious because my dad was apparently a piece of work before she straightened him out. My sister Julia said she got a weird feeling but couldn't articulate what it was, and then felt bad about saying anything because Stuart was always so nice to her kids. The ex is named Tiffany. I knew about her going in because Stuart was up front, which is part of why this whole thing is making me question reality. They dated for almost 4 years in college and the year after. She broke up with him. He was devastated, spent a year rebuilding himself, and then we met. He told me this on our 3rd date over bad margaritas at the place by the highway. He said he'd blocked her, he'd gotten rid of all their photos, and he didn't want to be friends with her because he didn't believe in being friends with exes. All of which sounded healthy and adult and like exactly the kind of thing a grown man should say. Fast forward to this past spring. We'd been living together about a year by then and engaged for a few months. Things were, I thought, good. We were arguing a normal amount about normal things. He wanted a dog, I wasn't ready. I wanted to move the wedding up. He wanted to wait till fall next year. My mom kept bringing up venue brochures at Sunday dinners and he kept deflecting, and I kept telling myself that's just how guys are about planning weddings. Then in April, his phone started buzzing differently. I can't explain it any other way. You know when you live with someone and you stop noticing their phone, it's just background noise, and then suddenly it's like the notification sound has changed pitch because you're actually hearing it again? That's what started happening. He'd grab his phone fast when it went off. He'd carry it into the bathroom when he showered, which he never used to do. Small things. My Aunt Pamela got divorced last year because her husband was sexting a woman from his gym, and I think it made me hyper-vigilant about everything. So I did what any normal, rational woman does. I told Carla about it. Carla is the kind of friend who will tell you the truth even when you don't want it, and she told me I was probably fine, but to pay attention. So I paid attention. And here's where I want to be really clear about something, because I know how Reddit gets about this. I did not go through his phone. I did not hire a private investigator. I did not do anything sneaky. What happened was that Stuart himself told me. Well, not exactly, but kind of. It was a Thursday in May. We'd had his family over for his mom Diane's birthday, which is another whole thing because Diane and I have a complicated relationship that I'll explain later. After everyone left, Stuart was loading the dishwasher and I was wiping down the counter, and he said something like, "Oh, by the way, I'm gonna grab coffee with an old friend Saturday, nothing crazy, just catching up." And I said, "Sure, who?" expecting it to be Mason or Hank or one of his buddies from work. And he paused for maybe half a second and said, "Tiffany, I want you to understand that I did not immediately freak out. I am not, despite what Stuart has since decided about me, a jealous person." I asked him when they started talking again. He said a few weeks ago. I asked how she got his number. He said she reached out on Instagram. I asked why he hadn't mentioned this, given that he'd told me very specifically that he didn't believe in being friends with exes. And he got that look on his face that I now recognize, but at the time I mistook for genuine confusion. He said he didn't mention it because he knew I'd make it weird. Those were his words, make it weird. I told him I wasn't making it weird. I just wanted to know why the guy who'd told me he'd blocked his ex was now planning a coffee date with her 2 years into our relationship. He said it wasn't a date, it was a catch-up, and he was an adult who could have friends. I said, "Fine, have your catch-up, just tell me how you're feeling about it so we're on the same page." He said he wasn't going to walk on eggshells in his own life. That phrase, walk on eggshells. That was the first time I felt like I was talking to a stranger. So Saturday, he went and had coffee with her. He came home, told me it was fine, it was closure, she was doing great. She was dating some guy named Trace who did something in tech. I asked if they were going to keep in touch, and he said probably not. I chose to believe him because what else was I going to do? Follow him around with a flashlight. I'm not that person. 3 weeks later, I'm making the bed. Stuart's already left for the day, and his old iPad is sitting on his nightstand plugged in. And here's the thing I need you to understand about this iPad. It's the iPad he specifically gave me to use when we moved in together. It had been his in college. He upgraded, and he said I could have it for watching shows in bed. The passcode was our anniversary. The iPad was, by every reasonable measure, shared property. I did not unlock a locked device. I did not hack anything. I picked up an iPad I use almost every night to watch Love Island reruns, and the iMessage app was open because iMessages sync across Apple devices when you share an Apple ID for the family plan, which we did because we had a family plan. The conversation was with Tiffany. The most recent message from that morning was from Stuart. It said, "Miss you too, love. Catching up soon, I promise. Love." He called her love. He has never once in our entire relationship called me love. He calls me babe and sometimes Leah, which is my name. I scrolled. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. I scrolled, and there were weeks of these messages. Not explicitly sexual. Nothing you could point to in a courtroom and say, "There, that's the smoking gun," but also clearly not friends. He was telling her about fights we'd had. He was asking her what she thought of the ring he picked out for me, which, by the way, he had picked out months before he claimed they started talking again. He was making plans to grab dinner next time she was in town. He was saying things like, "You always got me in a way nobody else does," and "We'll figure it out, don't overthink it." I sat on the edge of our bed for I don't know how long. I took screenshots of everything. I'm including this detail because later it matters. Then I went to work. That night I waited until we'd both eaten dinner because I didn't want to fight on an empty stomach, which is a rule my grandma Stephanie always said and I've never forgotten. I sat across from him at our kitchen table and I told him I'd seen the messages on the iPad. I was calm. I was so calm that I was proud of myself. He didn't deny it. That's the first thing that threw me. I had prepared for denial. I had an entire second-level argument ready for when he tried to say I was misreading things, but he looked at me with this expression like I was the one being ridiculous, and he said, "Leah, you're embarrassing yourself right now." That was his opener. "You're embarrassing yourself." I said, "I'm not embarrassing myself, I'm asking you why you called her love." He laughed. He actually laughed, this short little laugh, and said something about how I sounded like a jealous high schooler, and he wasn't going to dignify this with an explanation because it would only encourage me. He said I was fishing for a problem. He said if I kept this up, I was going to ruin what we had over nothing. I told him it wasn't nothing. He called her love, Stuart. I said that out loud. And he said, "It's a word, Leah, it's literally just a word, get a grip." And then he did this thing where he pushed his chair back from the table and said he wasn't going to keep talking to me when I was being like this, and he walked into our bedroom and shut the door, like he was the one who needed a minute to recover from my insanity. I sat at the table for 20 minutes trying to figure out what had just happened. Then I went in to try again, and he was on his phone, and when I tried to talk to him, he just kept saying I was spiraling and he wasn't going to engage. I'd never heard him use the word spiraling in my life. That's not a Stuart word. Stuart says stuff like, "You're tripping," or "chill out." The next morning, his phone was off. He got up, went to work, came home, ate the dinner I'd made because I'm apparently a psycho who still made dinner, and barely spoke to me. This went on for 2 days. When I tried to bring it up on day 2, he said, "You've already ruined my peace for a week. I don't want to talk about it until you've had time to think about how you handled this." How I handled it? I was the one who handled it badly. On day 3, he acted like nothing had happened. Made me coffee, kissed me on the forehead, asked what I wanted for dinner. When I tried to bring up Tiffany, he said he thought we'd moved past that. And did I really want to start another fight over something that wasn't real? His exact phrase, something that wasn't real. I have the screenshots, Stuart. I literally have them on my phone right now. So here's where I'm at. I don't know if he's actually cheating, meaning physically. I don't know if he's been stringing Tiffany along the same way he's stringing me along. I don't know if this is a guy who just can't let go of an ex and thinks he can hide it, or if he's been planning something bigger the whole time. What I do know is that the way he talked to me, the way he called me embarrassing, the way he turned his phone off and disappeared into the silent treatment for 2 days and came out the other side acting like I was the one who needed to apologize, that's not nothing. That's someone trying to rewrite what happened in real time. And I let him. For 3 days, I let him. Then my sister Julia called me last Sunday about Mom's birthday plans, and she could tell something was off. And I finally told her everything. And Julia said something that I can't stop thinking about. She said, "Leah, he's not confused about how he feels. He knows exactly what he's doing. The confusion is the strategy. I don't know what to do. I have the ring on my finger. I have a venue deposit down. I have my mom texting me about table linen. I have his mom, Diane, planning a bridal shower. And I have a fiancé who called another woman love and told me I was the problem for noticing. Before anyone says, just leave, I know. I know that's the obvious answer. But it's not that simple, and I don't think you guys understand yet how deep this goes. Because I haven't even told you about what happened with his mother. Or what I found out about where he actually was the night he said he was at Mason's bachelor party last month. I'll update soon. I need to sleep. If you made it this far, thank you for letting me vent. There is a special kind of woman who will reach out to her ex right when she finds out he's engaged, and Tiffany, babe, we all know what you're doing. You saw the ring, you saw the announcement, and something in you went, oh, he moved on without me. Absolutely not. Let me just slide into the DMs real quick and see how that's going. Women like this don't actually want the man. They want to know they can still have the man. They want to make sure the door is cracked open just a little bit in case their current situation doesn't work out and Trace turns out to be boring. And Stuart was the easiest door to crack open because this man has been standing at it for 2 years with his little puppy eyes waiting for her to knock. One DM and he was gone. Congratulations, Tiffany, you beat a level of a game nobody else was playing. And Stuart, I need to have a conversation with you because you are confused about a few things and we're going to go one by one. 1. Love is not just a word, and the fact that you tried to sell that line to your fiancé with a straight face is embarrassing for you and everyone who raised you. If it's just a word, then go out into the world right now and start calling everyone love. Call your dentist love. Call the guy at the gas station love. Call your buddy Mason love. I'll wait. You won't because you can't. Because it's not just a word and every 3-year-old child could tell you that. And asking your ex for her opinion on the engagement ring you're giving to another woman is the most unhinged thing I've heard all week, and I listen to a lot of unhinged things. What was the hope here, Stuart? Were you expecting her to say, oh, it's beautiful, babe, I'm so happy for you? Or were you hoping she'd say, oh, I would have picked something different? Because one of those answers is normal, and the other one means you're a full clown, and I think we all know which one you were fishing for. Update. The Monday after I posted, I decided I was done pretending everything was fine. I'd spent the whole weekend sleeping on the couch while Stuart slept in our bed like a man who had nothing to be sorry for. And I woke up Monday morning with this very clear feeling that if I didn't push on this right now, I was going to spend the rest of my life being told my reality wasn't real. So I waited until he got home from work and I sat down at the kitchen table with my phone and I told him we were going to talk about Tiffany, whether he liked it or not. He tried the whole routine again at first. The sigh, the eye roll, the Leah, can we not do this tonight? I told him we were absolutely doing this tonight, and if he walked away, I was calling my dad to come pick me up. That got his attention, because Stuart is weirdly scared of my dad. My dad, Hank, is this quiet guy who's been a truck mechanic for 30 years, and he has never once raised his voice in my presence. But Stuart knows my dad doesn't like him as much as he pretends to. And he does not want a situation where my dad is driving across town at 8 p.m. because his future son-in-law made his daughter cry. So he sat down, and I showed him the screenshots. All of them. Printed out because I'd gone to the library on my lunch break and printed them, which is maybe the most unhinged move I've made in this whole thing, but I wanted him to have to look at them on paper. I wanted him to not be able to scroll past them or minimize the window. And this is where it got really wild, because he looked at them, he actually read a few of them, and then he said, okay, so I called her love, but that's just a thing I say. I literally laughed out loud. I said, Stuart, you have never called me love, not one time in 2 years. And he said, yeah, because that's not what we are. Those were his actual words. That's not what we are. I said, what are we then, Stuart? Because he just told me out loud that there was a category of woman he calls love and I was not in it. And he started backpedaling, saying that's not what he meant, but he couldn't unsay it. I kept asking, what are we? What are we? What are we? And he got mad, finally really mad, and said, fine, you want to do this? Let's do this. And he launched into this whole speech about how I was suffocating him, how I'd gotten clingy since we got engaged, how my family was a lot, and his family was starting to ask questions about whether this was really what he wanted, how Tiffany had reached out at a moment when he was feeling trapped and talking to her felt like breathing for the first time in months. Breathing. I was suffocating him and Tiffany was letting him breathe. I wish I'd recorded it because I can still hear him saying it and it still doesn't feel real. I asked him if he was in love with her. He said no. I asked if he'd slept with her. He said no, absolutely not. How could I even ask that? I asked why he'd been telling her about our fights. He said because she was the only person who'd known him long enough to understand his side. I said, Stuart, you have friends, you have Mason, you have Kellen, you have Troy. He said they wouldn't get it. He said only Tiffany got it. And I said, so you're telling me the only person on earth who understands you is the woman you spent 4 years with before me? And he just sort of shrugged like, yeah. I want to pause here because I need to tell you something about his friend Kellen that matters for what comes next. Kellen is Stuart's best friend since middle school. He got married last year to a girl named Serena. Serena and I became friends through wedding stuff, shopping for bridesmaid dresses together, and she's always been really warm with me. But for the last couple months, Serena has been weird, canceling lunch plans, only responding with one-word texts. I figured she was busy because she and Kellen are trying for a baby. I did not connect it to anything else at the time. Anyway, back to Monday night. After Stuart's big speech about breathing, I asked him the question I'd been avoiding. I asked him, Were you actually at Mason's bachelor party last month? The reason I asked is because 2 weeks ago I'd been cleaning out his truck, looking for a pair of sunglasses I thought I'd left in there, and I found a receipt from a restaurant in Tulsa, dated the Saturday night of the bachelor party. Mason's bachelor party was in Kansas City. Kansas City is 3.5 hours from us. Tulsa is 3 hours in the opposite direction. I hadn't mentioned the receipt because I didn't know what to do with it, and I was still in denial. But now we were talking, and I figured if I was going to blow up my life, I might as well blow it all the way up. I pulled out the receipt, I put it on the table next to the screenshots, and Stuart looked at it and his whole face changed. He got that color you get when you drink too much on an empty stomach, and he started talking really fast, saying okay, he could explain. He said he and Mason had a falling out that week and he didn't end up going to the bachelor party. He'd gone to Tulsa instead because Tiffany's family lives near there and she'd invited him to a cookout with her family. The family who presumably knew he was engaged to someone else, or maybe didn't, I don't even know. I asked him why he'd lied to me about going to Mason's thing. He said because he knew I'd react exactly like I was reacting now. I asked him if Tiffany's boyfriend Trace was at this cookout. He hesitated, which was the answer. No, he wasn't. Trace doesn't exist, or Trace was made up, or Trace was somewhere else, but Trace wasn't there. And Stuart had spent a Saturday night at his ex's family cookout 3 hours away from me while I was at home folding his laundry, because I thought my fiancé was at his best friend's wedding send-off. I asked him how many other times he'd lied about where he was. He said never. I asked him to swear on his grandma who raised him. He wouldn't. That's when I knew there was more. I didn't even have to press. His face told me. Here's where the family drama gets really fun because his mom, Diane, got involved. Diane called me completely out of the blue, which was not out of the blue at all because obviously Stuart had called her Monday night after our fight. Diane and I have always had a weird relationship. She's the kind of mother-in-law who compliments you in a way that feels like an insult. Like, oh, Leah, you look so pretty today, I can never pull off that much makeup. Stuff like that. And she adores Tiffany. She kept in touch with Tiffany after the breakup, which I found out last year, and when I asked Stuart about it at the time, he said his mom was just being nice and it didn't mean anything. I bought that because I wanted to. So Diane calls me at work. I took the call in the parking lot because I had a feeling. And she launches into this monologue about how engagements are stressful, how Stuart has always been a sensitive boy who needs space to process, how she's worried I'm being too hard on him, how sometimes men just need their friendships from before, and I shouldn't see those as threats. Friendships from before. That's how she described a 4-year relationship that overlaps with the first 3 weeks of my engagement getting sabotaged. I asked her point blank if Stuart had called her and told her about the messages. She paused and then said he'd mentioned we'd had a disagreement. I said, Diane, did he tell you he called Tiffany love and told her he missed her? Or did he tell you I went through his phone like a jealous girlfriend? Silence. And then she said, Leah, I just think you need to decide if you're the kind of woman who trusts her partner or the kind who looks for reasons not to. And I said, Diane, I'm the kind of woman who doesn't let my fiancé's mother tell me how to feel about another woman he's calling love. And I hung up. That night I went home and Stuart wasn't there. He came in around 10 with a bag of takeout from the Vietnamese place I like, which is a move, by the way. He knows I can't stay mad when there's good pho. He sat down next to me on the couch and he said he'd been thinking all day and he wanted to apologize for the Tulsa thing. He said he should have told me the truth. He said the cookout was a mistake. He said he wanted to cut Tiffany off completely and could we please move forward. I almost believed him. That's the part I'm most embarrassed to tell you. For about 20 minutes, I almost bought it. He cried. Actual tears. He said he'd been scared of losing me, and he'd made stupid choices trying to hold on to something that wasn't real with her. He said Tiffany had never been serious for him. He'd just been flattered and stupid, and he loved me and he wanted to fix it. And then his phone buzzed on the coffee table, face up, with her name on it. He grabbed it like he was trying to catch a fly. But I saw it, and he saw that I saw it. And we sat there for a long time just looking at each other, and I asked him, in what I thought was a very level tone, why Tiffany was texting him at 10:47 when he had just told me he wanted to cut her off completely. And he said, Leah, please don't do this right now. I said, I'm not doing anything. I'm asking you a question. And he went back to the old script. I was ruining the moment. I was never going to let him make this right. I was sabotaging our relationship. Did I even want to be with him, or did I just want to be right? He was doing everything he could, and I was impossible to satisfy. The whole speech. Like nothing had happened in the last 20 minutes. Like he hadn't just cried and apologized and promised to cut her off. I went to bed in the guest room that night. I texted Serena. I hadn't been able to get out of my head why she'd been so weird for the last couple months. I just said, hey, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Can we talk tomorrow? She responded in about 3 minutes. She said, Leah, I've been wanting to call you for weeks. I just didn't know how. That's all she said that night. We made plans to meet Wednesday after work. I can't tell you what she said yet because honestly, I'm still processing it and I want to tell that part when I can do it justice. But I'll say this. Stuart did not go to Mason's bachelor party because there was no falling out with Mason. Mason didn't invite him. Mason hasn't really been talking to Stuart since February. And the reason why involves Kellen, and Kellen's been keeping a secret from Serena that Serena only recently figured out. And my fiancé is not the only main character in this mess. Not by a long shot. Mom called later that evening and she was a different kind of useful. She wasn't soft about it. She told me I'd been making excuses for Stuart for months and she'd been watching me do it and she'd kept her mouth shut because she didn't want to be that mother-in-law. She said she loved me too much to keep watching me shrink. She said she and Dad had been arguing about whether to say something for weeks, and Dad wanted to let me figure it out on my own, and she'd been overruled, and now she regretted it. My mom never admits she regrets anything. That wrecked me more than anything Stuart has said. Stuart is currently sleeping on the couch. He's not speaking to me because I told him last night that I was meeting Serena today and I wouldn't tell him why. He got big mad about that. He tried 3 different angles to get me to tell him. First, he said he didn't care. Then he said he was worried about me. Then he said if I wouldn't tell him, he'd just text Serena himself and find out. I told him go ahead, text her, see what she says. He didn't text her. I'll update you after I see her. There's a lot I haven't told you yet about Diane, about my own Aunt Pamela, who's been weirdly involved in all this, and about what Serena is going to tell me tomorrow that I think I already half know. Thank you for reading. I know this is long. I'll be back. That's not what we are. Stuart, did you just announce out loud that there is a whole category of woman you call love, and your own fiancé is not in that category? Did you? Sir, do you hear yourself when you speak, or does the volume in your own head get turned off the second the words leave your mouth? Because you literally just told your future wife that she doesn't qualify for the affection tier that you reserve for other women, and then you had the nerve to be mad she was upset. Dude, you told on yourself so hard even you were surprised and now you're trying to walk it back, but too late, it's already on the receipt. And Tiffany is the only one who gets me is the most overused line in cheater history, and I'm tired of it. Tiffany doesn't get you. Tiffany doesn't live with you. Tiffany doesn't see you first thing in the morning with your bad breath and your bad attitude. Tiffany gets sad text messages about your fights and little sob stories designed to make you look like the victim. Of course she gets you, dude, because you've only shown her the version of yourself that's easy to love. You could get any woman off the street to understand you if you only fed her curated information about your feelings over a 4-month period. And Diane. Ma'am, we need to talk. Your son is actively running a whole affair operation, and your big concern is whether his fiancé is being too hard on him. The kind of woman who trusts her partner. Diane, with all due respect, which is none. The kind of woman who trusts her partner is the kind of woman who is currently being cheated on because her partner is not trustworthy. Trust is not a personality trait, it's earned, and your son burned his to the ground. But we know what's really going on here. You never stopped rooting for Tiffany. You kept in touch with her. You've been holding a candle for that girl like she's coming home any minute, and now you're trying to gaslight your future daughter-in-law into accepting the situation. Not today, Diane. Last update. I met Serena at the park near her apartment after work. She wanted to walk. We did 2 loops before she could even start talking, and when she did, the first thing out of her mouth was that she was sorry. Not for what Stuart did, for what she'd known and hadn't told me. Here's what Serena knew. Back in February, Kellen had gotten drunk at a poker night and told her something that had been eating at him. Stuart had been showing up to those poker nights talking about Tiffany. Not in a nostalgic way, in a future way. Kellen said Stuart had told the guys, laughing about it, that Tiffany had reached out, that he was keeping his options open, that he wasn't sure if I was really the one, but the wedding stuff had gotten away from him and it felt easier to keep going than to blow it up. That was February, 3 months before I found the messages. My engagement ring was barely 4 months old when my fiancé was sitting at a card table telling his friends maybe I wasn't the one. Mason was at that poker night. That's why Mason stopped talking to Stuart. Mason's sister had gone through something similar a few years back, and he wasn't going to sit there and listen to Stuart treat my life like a coin flip. He told Stuart to his face that he was being a coward, and if he didn't mean it, he needed to end it. Stuart didn't. Mason uninvited him from the bachelor party. That's the falling out Stuart had mentioned in passing and blamed on a scheduling thing. Kellen made Serena promise not to tell me. He said it wasn't his story, that Stuart might still figure it out, that Serena shouldn't be the one to blow up my relationship over something Stuart might walk back. Serena said she hated herself for going along with it. She said every time she saw me, she felt like she was lying to my face, which is why she kept canceling on me. She wasn't being distant. She was avoiding me because she couldn't look at me. I wasn't even mad at her. I was mad at Kellen. I was mad at Mason for knowing and not telling me himself. But mostly I was mad at Stuart for putting his friends in that position in the first place. I walked Serena back to her car and I drove home, and Stuart was sitting on the couch waiting for me like a kid who knows he's about to get yelled at. And we had the fight. He tried to lie for about 40 seconds. He said Kellen was making it up. Then he said Kellen had misunderstood a joke. Then he said fine, okay. He'd been venting, but he hadn't meant it. Guys talk. It wasn't real. I asked him if it wasn't real. Why had Tiffany been in his phone for months before I found those messages? How long had they actually been talking? Since November. That's when he finally admitted it. November. I asked him why he proposed, because at that point, I genuinely didn't understand. If he wasn't sure, if Tiffany was circling, if his mother had been in Tiffany's ear the whole time, why put a ring on my finger? And he gave me this answer that I'll think about for the rest of my life. He said because everyone expected him to. He said my dad had asked him when he was going to do it. His mom had been asking, his sister had been asking. He didn't want to be the guy who chickened out. So he proposed and then immediately felt trapped. And Tiffany happened to text him a week later and he answered because it felt like a door. I'd spent almost 2 years loving a man who saw me as a room he was trying to get out of. I asked him what the plan was. Was he going to marry me and keep her on the side? Was he going to leave me for her? Was he going to wait until I caught him and let me do the hard part? And he didn't have an answer. He actually said, I don't know, Leah, I was going to figure it out. That's a direct quote, I'm not exaggerating. He was going to figure it out with my life. I took off the ring and put it on the coffee table. I just set it down and told him I was leaving and he was going to give me until Saturday to move my stuff out. He tried to argue. He tried the whole arsenal. We could fix this. He'd go to therapy. We could postpone the wedding, not cancel it, just postpone. He loved me. He'd always loved me. Tiffany was nothing, all of it. And I just kept saying, I'm leaving, I'm leaving, I'm leaving, until he stopped talking. My dad came the next morning with his truck. He didn't say one word about Stuart the whole time we were packing. He just moved boxes. When we passed each other in the hallway, he'd squeeze my shoulder. My mom made my old room up with the good sheets, the ones she saves for Christmas. Diane called me twice that week. The third time she left a voicemail saying she thought I was making a huge mistake and that Stuart had always been a good boy, and she hoped I'd come to my senses. I forwarded the voicemail to my mom without comment. My mom called Diane back. I don't know what she said. I will never ask. But Diane hasn't called since, and my mom told me at dinner last week that Diane sent her a text apologizing for overstepping, and my mom deleted it without responding. Here's where it stands. I'm at my parents' house. I'm sleeping in my childhood bedroom, which still has a poster of a band I haven't listened to since 2016. Tiffany is apparently also done with him. Not because she grew a conscience, because he got clingy after I left and she got scared. Serena heard it from Kellen, who heard it from Stuart himself, who's been crying to anyone who'll listen. That's all I know and all I want to know. Thanks for reading, you guys. Genuinely. I know this was a lot. If you're in the middle of one of these situations right now and your gut is screaming at you, listen to it. He is not confused. He knows exactly what he's doing. Some men are out here proposing because they actually love you, and some men are out here proposing because their mama kept asking when, and they got tired of the question. And babe, those rings look exactly the same. One comes from the heart and one comes from the peer pressure, and you won't know which one you got until it's too late, and that's genuinely the scariest part of dating in your 20s, because how do you check? You can't. You just have to hope. And I am so over men who will ruin years of your life because they can't handle one uncomfortable conversation. Like 10 minutes. That's all it takes. 10 minutes of sitting her down and saying, hey, I'm not sure about this. Instead, these men would rather plan a whole wedding, pick out a ring, lie about bachelor parties, have secret dinners, make their friends keep their secrets, all because saying one hard thing out loud feels too hard. Every grown man who would rather build a double life than have a hard chat is a mess, and he should be embarrassed. Oh, anyway, that's the story. Love you guys. See you in the next one.